Last year's tornado, the Castlewood School District has had to still hold classes while tiptoeing around damage.
In 2022, the school added more space through temporary classrooms, but now they say they have a more permanent plan for the future. Cooper Seamer has more from Castlewood and continues our coverage here tonight.
It came down to the wire, but the Castlewood School District's second bond referendum passed with the required 60%. Now the school district hopes it can rebuild and renovate sooner rather than later as it and the rest of the Castlewood community still recover from last year's tornado.
We felt like the margin would be a little more spread out, but we landed right at 60%.
With the final total official, the bond referendum to repair and renovate Castlewood School was passed with 315 yes votes and 210 no. Even one less vote and it would have failed. Superintendent Peter Books says after the first vote failed in March, the school board went back to the drawing board and presented a new $6 million bond instead of the original $9 million proposal.
So I mean, that's really what the school board focused on. In August, when they passed the resolution, they added 5. They want to add 5 additional classrooms and expand some of the elementary classrooms.
Books also says the district felt that more people were willing to approve the bond this time, knowing that more resources are coming from insurance and disaster relief funds.
The community wanted to know what the insurance answer was, and we were able to answer that. They wanted to know FEMA. We were able to answer that. And I think there was confusion with the multiple questions.
Books says he's also aware that Castlewood is not the only school district in the state working towards a bond referendum. He says his advice for those districts is to communicate as much as possible with those stakeholders in the district.
We did a survey, we did multiple meetings. We've tried to visit as much as we possibly can and just figure out exactly what a majority of the community would like to see.
Books says while there is some planning and some details that need to be finalized yet by the school district, there is some construction that they can start yet this year. In Castlewood, Cooper Seamer, Dakota News Now.